Welcome to our webinar series, 5 Steps to Transform Office 365 into a Digital Workplace. This webinar focuses on Step 4, Defining an Internal Services Structure. I'm Daryl Trimble, CEO of SP Marketplace. We provide out-of-the-box workplace solutions that help you transform Office 365 and SharePoint into a digital workplace. Our whole objective is to help you make it easy to do business inside your organization. The company was started in 2012 to provide a set of workplace solutions that allows organizations to optimize their use of Office 365 to really improve collaboration and productivity in their organization. You can learn more about our products at spmarketplace.com. This webinar will not be about our products. It will really be what we found in over 1,300 deployments worldwide, the best practices in creating a digital workplace. So when we really take a look at this, as I just said, the webinar series is really about how do you make it easy to do business inside your organization. And when we look at traditional organizations today, they typically have grown organically by functions or departments. And the problem with this is it's fine for kind of the back office systems and processes that those functions actually run, but for employees who have to get information, services, and resources from those departments, it can make it a little bit hard because each of them do things in a different way. And to the employee, it may look like this in trying to get what they need from the organization to do their job. So what we're going to show you is how you can actually move to more of a digital workplace environment that looks at it from the employee's view on getting the things that they need to do their job, to collaborate, and also to optimize their work, and how you can use Office 365 to actually go in and create an internal business structure that bridges siloed departments and creates a common way to do business inside that makes it easy for employees to find things, to get information, to access processes and services within the organization. And we're going to show you how to do this by implementing what we call an operational portal structure anchored by an intranet in SharePoint. And what you'll see from this is by doing this, this will allow your employees to, in essence, get this digital workplace where they can go from any place, anytime, on any device through a portal structure to get what they need easily, intuitively, and in a consistent structure design. And we find that makes everybody more productive and employees very happy. So in doing this, one of the things that we've stepped back to do is we took a look at it from the employee's perspective. What do they need to do business inside an organization? And the 4 pillars that we really take a look at is information. How do they get news, events, announcements? How do they find contacts inside the information, say through an employee directory and so on? Then second, how do they actually get to resources, to policies, procedures, forms, other documents, contracts, and things they need to do their job, regardless of what department it came from? How can you organize that stuff such that it's easy for employees to find what they need from a resource standpoint? Then the third area is services. And this is really an overlooked area of how do employees get services? How do they get questions answered, problems, requests, and so on, department by department? And then finally, how do they actually access processes that they use every day, employee-facing processes like time off, expenses, purchases, and so on? And the whole goal here is to establish a consistent approach across departments in a portal structure without interrupting how they're doing business in the back end. In this webinar, we're going to be really focusing on the internal services perspective here. So if this is the first one you're looking at, our first one was talking about how to define this internal portal structure, how communications, the first pillar, can be designed and done within it, how to organize resources and documents. And this one will be talking about how to set up an internal service structure, and then finally how you integrate processes in here. So again, the focus is this area here, the internal services. So on our agenda today really is we're going to take a look at the challenge of providing services, internal services to employees. And a lot of times this is a challenge just because employees are all over the place. They may not be in the home office. They may not even be in the same time zone. We'll take a look at, from an Office 365 and a portal perspective, the components of an internal service structure and how you might create a service department portal design that you can use across, say, IT, HR, in a consistent design across departments that leverages, for the employee, a consistent design and intuitive way to get to services, resources, and so on, but for the departments, the flexibility to provide differences in content and other things that recognizes their different functions. We're going to talk a little bit about a common service request system and what that's made up of, and we'll actually demonstrate an internal service structure in the webinar here. And then finally, we'll finish up by talking about how deploying a common service structure as part of a digital workplace on Office 365 can be done. So from a very simplistic view, and obviously there's many more departments than what we see here, but often what we see in many organizations is there are at least core service departments of, say, IT, HR, administration or finance, maybe facilities if it's certain types of industries. And these are departments that actually provide services, whether it be technology, employee support, or even just facilities and office type things to employees. And one of the challenges is every one of these departments tends to do things in a different way. So if you're a sales rep out there in a regional office or something like that, and you need something from HR, you may need to call somebody or send an email. And then you wonder about, did they get it? I didn't get an answer back. IT typically is the only one that has a traditional kind of help desk function out there. And admin facilities has usually work order systems, but they may or may not take requests that way. So for the employee, it's kind of all over the place on how do I get services in the organization. And unfortunately, and this is where, it's really kind of crazy, everybody's concerned about the intranet and getting news and stuff. But one of the biggest wasters of time out there is the inability to get services. Again, somebody sending in an email that says, hey, I have a question, or I need to get a certain form, or I just had a baby and added to our family. What do I have to fill out to HR or, something to IT or facilities, and there's many of those departments still, require an email to be sent or a telephone call. And again, they may not have any way to actually track it. And the employees themselves never even know if they got it or not. And the other part of it here is a lot of times employees may be calling because they can't find resources, docs, policies, or something that could be answered in a knowledge base on a portal or something like that too, because each department keeps things in different places. And a lot of times, let's say you've got a sales rep in California, your main office is in New Jersey, and it's after 2 p.m. and everybody's gone. So it's impossible a lot of times for remote employees to get service at the right time. They just have to, happen to call at the right time in the time zone. And for the departments, it's also a challenge. There's no way to measure the level of service they're providing. They often can't justify that they need more resources because the number of requests are increasing as well. And overall, it's not just time wasted by employees away from their main focus of their job, but a lot of times that these overhead departments need more staff because they're chasing around all of this stuff. And really, when it could be done with fewer staff if there was some self-service capabilities for employees. So it's really an area here that many organizations overlook, but it really causes a lot of frustration and extra cost. And if we take a look at challenges in providing internal services and addressing this, well, first of all, sometimes even the customer service culture in departments is just not there. And so sometimes they see, HR or facility or something, they see themselves as, hey, we operate the back office processes here and everything else, and we'll get to the, employees asking these requests when we can. They may not have a customer service culture actually even developed in the departments. I'm not saying that that is every place, but we do see that often. And the other thing is that a lot of times with that, they're not organized for self-service. They don't realize that they don't have to answer the phone every time. If they had a knowledge base or a frequently asked questions type of capability out on a portal, an employee portal, that maybe they could cut down on their phone calls. Maybe employees wouldn't have to chase around things. So the other thing we see is a lot of them are not organized for customer service. In fact, it's amazing how many departments we talk to that says, "Oh, I don't need a help desk. They just call us on the phone or or send us an email." Well, the problem with that is that that is not any way to track services there, and a lot of times things get lost as well. And so they're not organized for customer service as far as there's no service request system or help desk systems to manage those requests. And again, they're not managed for self-serve or organized for self-service. And then the other thing too is there's no consistency across departments. So that rep out in California has to say, oh, okay, so let's see, I'm dealing with the facilities group on getting something fixed in our office here. But let's see, how do they do it again? Do I send them an email, or do they have do I have to put in a process application or something like that? And there's no consistency from major events to meetings and cross-organizational departments. And everything's could be emails, could be other things too. So when we take a step back and take a look at things, this makes no sense, especially when probably for your customers, you wouldn't think of doing it that way. And one of the things too is if you look across any service organizations, banking, fast food, restaurants, retail, the customer service 101, the number one rule is make it easy for your customers to get the services and products they need. Don't make them look for it. Don't make them spend time doing that. That's why you see, for instance, with banks, you walk into a bank and in Chicago, in San Francisco, in New York, it doesn't matter. You walk in, tellers are on one side, desks are on the other, because you walk in, you're ready to do business. You don't need to sit there and wonder, where do I do this? Same thing with McDonald's. You go into the door, there's a counter, and it doesn't matter which branch of McDonald's you're in what city, it's set up the same way. And that is a number one best practice in customer service, is make it consistent and intuitive for your customers to get services. So why don't we do that for employees across departments? Not department by department, but make a consistent way that they can, number one, request services, get self-service, and even find resources. That's really what this is all about. So if we take a look at this, what if you actually, instead of a bank branch, created a service branch for a department? Let's say it's IT or HR. Well, if an employee walked into that branch, what would they want to see? Well, you might want to have a place that they could actually see the latest news from your organization. If it's HR, it might be, a new benefit that is offered or something like that. You might have an announcement out there on your site that's specific to your function or department. You might have new training classes or new events you might want to show. So we might want to see that as well. Those might be on the wall. If the employee needs to find something, you might actually have a file cabinet in that room so that they can go in and find it, and it's well marked, and they can go and find what they need themselves. Now, if they can't or they don't understand, a process or, have a question about how to do something, like in HR, maybe I just had a baby. What do I have to do to add that baby onto our benefits, and if I have to change tax forms or anything for a new family member? Well, it'd be nice if I could go to a knowledge base or a frequently asked questions and get my own answer on that. And so you might see that in this room. But finally, if I can't do it myself, or and figure it out myself, or I need something to be changed or fixed or something like that, it sure would be nice if there was like a help phone or something on the wall in there that I could just pick it up and immediately request service, and know that if I requested the service, that it's going to go to a group that is there for services. Doesn't mean you have a separate help desk team for every department, but that there's a system that actually tracks it, that I made the request, that it's going to get assigned to somebody, and that somebody cares that it was completed in a help desk type thing. And then I might also, it'd be nice if I knew who was in that department and who I could contact for different things too, as well. So in essence, just like setting up a branch of a bank here for services, you can also do that in your Office 365 portal structure. And so what we're saying here is, in the same analogy, set up a service portal. Set up a destination that an employee can go to that can solve their own problems, that can ask for help as well, that can see the latest news and information here, all part of a standard service portal. And do it consistently across different departments, IT, HR, finance, and so on, so that it is very familiar for them to go in and find what they need. And obviously the content's going to be different and so on, but make it consistent, even down to the help desk and how they get help. It would be nice if it was consistent as well. So this is really what we're talking about. And what we're seeing here is that this really should be part of your intranet structure and part of what we call the department portal in an intranet structure. And what we're going to find is, if you do this, everybody's going to be much more productive and your employees are going to be a lot happier. Okay, so let's take a look at, how do we do this? I mean, how do we actually achieve this in SharePoint and Office 365? Well, if you've got an intranet structure in SharePoint, you're familiar with intranets, and then what a lot of people do is create team sites down here. And team site really is kind of the peer-to-peer. It's where the HR department actually manages things. They can track tasks. They could have documents, but it's for that HR staff. It's not really for their customers. And the problem with it is if you do let customers in here, then you better have your permissions set up real well to make sure they don't get at the stuff they're not supposed to, because this is not the bank branch. This is behind the tellers that in the area that customers are not supposed to get to. Okay, but team sites only give you this. And what you really need is to set up a second portal, or it could be part of the same site, and it's a site page that you build, and you actually set up a service portal. And the service portal is where your customers come in, the employees, to go in and do a service request, set up a resource library that is specifically where you're going to provide things for employees that they're supposed to get to as well, and news and knowledge base and so on. So the key thing here is, don't think a team site can do this. A team site is really peer-to-peer for that staff to share things. What you really need is a service portal, and you almost need to build this separately, or hope there are some out of the box solutions, which we have one, which we call a department portal. As well. Now, you can also consolidate some things like policies and other things if you had kind of an employee central too, with a doc central and a help central. And we talk about that in some of the other versions or parts of the webinar series here too. So in essence, the way it works is, from your intranet, if somebody needs something from, say, the IT department or whatever, if they are an employee and they go to and they need something, there's a drop down that says IT department. They go to it, it takes them to this department portal. And you got, here's the news, here's my service request and announcements. You know, here is a knowledge base and useful docs that I can get to things. And it keeps me pretty much in here. In fact, you won't see this menu here. It'll just have the intranet here, because it recognizes I am not part of the say IT staff or HR staff. So this is what we call the employee portal or service portal. On the other side of the portal here is a staff portal, and this is where the staff is getting things done. They can manage those service requests. They can share documents. It may even link them into their team or group or planner that is all specifically this group related in this. There's department news and task tracking and everything else. So this is where the staff organizes their things here and manages documents and everything else as staff, but it is separate from what they're presenting to their customers. Okay, so you can have security, in essence, a security wall between these two. And anything they want to present to the employees, they drop into this useful docs library here, and the employees can search this. They can, look at it by metadata or folders or whatever. So this is the key thing to service. And it's going to look pretty much the same, whether it's HR, IT, and so on, but the content may be different as well. And it could be even that if you already have a help desk for IT, this could link out to that help desk, but at least you provide the self-service capabilities of this portal as well. So when we take a look at where does this fit in your overall strategy, I mean, you've got your intranet here, and that's really where information is, and that's really the second of our webinar series talks about how to roll up and how to have a communication and information structure. In the next one, we really talk about how to organize your resources and documents in that as well. And even now in this one, you could even also pull together a help central where links to these service request systems can be all gathered here so they could do it from one place. And of course, the fourth webinar series, we'll talk about how you integrate processes and so on into this structure. But the key thing is how this fits is if an employee needs something specific to these departments and not general that might be in the Docker resources, they can obviously do a search here. And that search can do searching all the resource libraries in these different departments. But they can now visit the employee portal and know that when they go into marketing, if they need to get a piece of collateral or whatever, it's going to be in the resources library. If they need to know how to, what a question about the latest events, it might be on the event calendar here. And if they've got a question for the marketing staff or need to fill out a form to make a request for supporting an event or something like that, say a sales guy, they can put a service request in here. But it is all designed the same, just like a bank branch. And of course, it's separated also from what the staff does in these portals too. So this is what we mean by implementing a consistent service strategy as well. So let's take a moment and see what this looks like in action. So in our demonstration here, we're in a example company, and it's a Radiant Solar, and this happens to be their intranet. This is where employees come. This is where they can get news and information. They can link to different things that they need to get to. They can have their own personalized links, kind of a My Links thing. They can get to different aspects of the organization or outside the organization here. They can also see up-to-date information from announcements in the organization, from different departments, events. They could see, for instance, the latest Twitter traffic from their organization, and even see company news here. This is all part of actually our intranet offering that is pre-built in an out-of-the-box solution. But we're not going to focus on that today. What we're going to take a look at is if somebody needs to get to services from a department, we're going to go take a look at what a department site looks like. And I'll go ahead and select, let's say we're going to go to the finance department. We'll go to the IT department here and take a look at that. Now, in going to IT, because I am not part of IT itself, it sends me to my IT portal. And what I can do here is I can submit a new IT case in the help desk here. I could answer my own questions through the knowledge base. I could get to useful docs. Maybe I want to look up a quick reference card or something like that. I can also, if they wish me to do it, I can actually contact any IT people, and you can see that Skype for Business pops right up. And I can also see the latest department news. Looks like we're about ready to do an email upgrade for another division here. Talks about our new intranet site. And I can see any cases that I've submitted as well as their status out here as well, and any department events. So in essence, this is my bank branch here. And let's say I want to go and get an Excel quick reference guide or a cheat sheet. I can do that here. Just click on it, download it, or I can just open it up and look at it here. But these are all presented by the IT staff. I could do a search for whatever I want. But in essence, this is the service portal the IT group has provided too. Now, if I go back to the intranet here, and I were to go to another department, let's say that department is HR or finance or something like that, I'll go here. Maybe I'll go to the facilities department, and I need to, it loads the My Facilities portal. And again, this is the bank branch for the service portal for facilities. So I can submit a new work order request if I need something, useful docs out here. Again, I could go get, maybe our security policy or parking policy out here. Looks like there's no news, but I can go in and see any announcements. It looks like our sales office in North Carolina is closed due to the hurricane, and I can see any work order requests that I've done here too. So again, you notice it looks very much the same as the IT portal too. And that's the whole point of this, is to make it easy to do business and find things. And it gives a structure for your different departments to provide resources, provide a way to get services, and so on. And it's so important, the consistency in doing that as well. Now, one other thing you can even go as far as doing is you'll see here that we have Doc Central and Help Central. We actually have what we call an employee services site out here that is just below the intranet that actually rolls up things from the different departments. So if I don't want to have to visit the bank branch here, I could actually go and, for instance, look for a policy out there. And perhaps I want to find a, what is the drug test policy? I can search here, and all the department policies out here have been published up here from the different departments so that I can go and find anything I want across this. You could even put different forms, and I can even do a search on the different departments out there. So if I don't want to have to go to IT, or I don't know where the Excel kind of cheat sheet is, I'll go look for a cheat. There I can go and do a search. And then finally, I can also go back to the employee kind of services central or employee self-service, and I could also submit a service request for any department from Help Central. So this is a consolidation of the service requests for the different departments, and I can actually see the status of them. I was just in facilities, and I was just in IT as well too. Now, we've built these into a common service request system into our operational portal structure so that it is consistent. But there is cases where, maybe IT has Zendesk, but the others don't have anything. You could have a link to Zendesk appear right here. So the key thing here that we've done is we've created a set of department portals that is done in a consistent way, that gives a consistent way to get services, to find resources from any department or function, and even a consolidated way that's linked up with the intranet to look across those. So what you were actually seeing there is a turnkey portal structure that we provide out of the box, built on SharePoint natively, to actually provide a full digital workplace type of operational portal structure. And we use this throughout the webinar series to at least demonstrate what you can do with it. You could potentially build these. There's a lot of work into doing that. Or you can actually work with us to get it. And it's all integrated with Office 365. So we invite you to come to our next webinar in the series, and the final one, which is integrating your digital workplace into your business processes. And you can learn more about our products. You can see the additional webinars at spmarketplace.com.